Okay, sorry, John.
I'm Joan Dawson. I'm a life member of the New South Wales Teachers Federation, and I was here in 1988 when 80,000 teachers caused the Greiner government to improve conditions in schools. And the New South Wales Teachers Federation will not stand by and allow those conditions to be lost. No way, Barry. Get the message. The New South Wales Teachers Federation has been around a lot longer than you, and it'll prevail. And the conditions need to be kept for all workers, not just teachers. I'm also here as a member of the Newcastle's People's Chorus. I came here to sing solidarity with the other unions.
Well, I'm an old Newcastle boy. I went to school in Lambton and North Belmont, and so it's good to see some fellow Novocastrians here
Well, I
today.
taught at Cardiff and Windale in the olden days.
So do you still see protest now as a valid instrument for change in this country? Because in the last 10 years we've seen some great protests. The Iraq War protest 10 years ago was, after that I kind of almost gave up on protests because I thought we had a million people.
I don't think we should give up. I'm also involved in the struggle to keep the Newcastle rail line running. I'm the president of Save Our Rail, and we've won it 4 times now. It's been announced to be closed, and over the past 20 years this group has won back the right to keep the rail line running. So don't give up on protests. It is valid and it is worthwhile, and people will listen if enough of us are united in the cause.
Because over the last, I think, 30 years, you've definitely seen a deterioration, especially in teachers' wages. 20, 30 years ago, a teacher could, have one job, pay a mortgage, and do, and be, do reasonably well. I mean, have enough money for food and whatnot. But now you're seeing a lot of teachers having to get second jobs. And that's basically what we're looking at, is a disconnect between politicians and citizens in general, where a politician would think that he could possibly garner public support by attacking the conditions of a group of people whose children, everybody's citizens' children are sent to schools, and why would you want to not make those teachers reasonably well paid so that you can at least draw a better quality of candidate for that job?
It is true that teachers' wages have suffered in terms of the real value of their wages. However, conditions up till now have improved, and that is a benefit to the children that are of the utmost importance to all teachers. Teachers wouldn't be in there because there are plenty of better paid jobs. And this isn't just about the actual work, the actual paid wage. It's about maintaining the best for children, and the best teachers will be well-paid teachers who are happy to be doing that service. I really feel it's important to keep up the struggle, and if politicians think they can ignore a voice such as the New South Wales teachers, they should think again, because this has prevailed over many years and gained many better services and better education for children. This needs to be kept. Decent wages mean decent conditions and decent staffing, so it needs to be kept up.
Well, great. Well, thanks very much for your time, and I'm glad to see you still fighting the good fight. Have you seen much of the protest today?
Yeah, all of it.
Yep.
From start, and I'll see the whole lot to the end.
And as an employee, do you feel that you get the support that you need from your working organisations?
Yeah, from my boss I do.
Yeah.
Don't know about from anybody else, but...
So are you a member of a union? Or?
Sure am.
Okay, so the New South Wales had a great line of history of good union movement, so it's pleasing to see these guys out here again today.
Yeah, I've watched them all in the last 4 years. Everyone that's come past I've watched in the last 4 years.
Yeah, you get to see a bit on Macquarie Street, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So you do see a bit of a disconnect though between the people and politicians, do you think?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. They don't listen to us.
Yeah. And why do you think that is? Do you think it's because they don't see people as citizens?
They don't.
They see people
They
as...
need to come and live on our wage, what we earn a week, to see how life really goes on. Not whatever amount of money they get. I'd love their money.
Yeah.
But if they come and live on our wage for a week, they wouldn't be able to do it.
Because one of the bitter ironies to me of this is that you have your unions that supply money to superannuation funds, and then you get the big banks and the finance corporations that make huge profits from our money, and they're on 30 million a year, but then you've got a nurse and a doctor and somebody else on, 40, 50,000 and struggling to survive and pay a mortgage. That to me is the biggest injustice of it all.
That's it. They're the ones that look after us. They're the ones we go to when we're sick. They should be paid more. Not the politicians. They should be on a normal wage like us.
Yeah.
They should be.
Yeah.
We all should be equals. I thought we were all equals.
Well, we used to be a while back, but it's slowly changing.
I mean, if I was on $2,000 a week, I'd be loving it. But that ain't going to be possible ever. But
and they want to take a little bit more away from
us. Yeah. Like they've already taken what they can, and they're going to just keep taking more.
Right, great. Thanks for your time.
That's okay.
Who's done the shittest job in politics this year? Anyway, here's our first. It's basically a bronze-plated dog turd, which we're hoping to present to him on camera at some point. But we're just talking about protests and in general, really. That's what. I'm Brett. What was your name? Sorry,
Kathy.
First name's fine. Yep. Have you been to a few protests?
Yeah,
Yep.
a lot of protests, yeah.
Do you find that protest is still a valid instrument these days in terms of getting your message across? Because we have had, in the last 10 years, 20 years, some very good and very effective protests. In particular, the war on Iraq protests, which ended up no one being listened to anyway.
Yeah, I think it's important to go out and express what you think about whatever governments are doing. I think people should be able to do that, but really you change things by the organising that goes around that.
Yeah.
So if all these people came here today and just went home, went back to work and did nothing, then it would be ineffective. But if they keep up the fight and keep supporting each other in the months ahead, then it will be a lot more effective.
Because I myself personally promised to never go on another. After Iraq, I decided that's it. I thought if this doesn't work, I don't know if anyone's actually listening anymore. That kind of proved to me that people weren't listening anymore, and that's kind of where I'm at in terms of. Do you see a big disconnect between citizens and politics in this country and in many Western countries?
Yes, I think generally people can get very disengaged and very focused on themselves because our whole system is about individualism, really.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get discouraged, especially after the Iraq War. A lot of people were really discouraged after those protests when millions of people went on the streets and were ignored. But part of the problem with that was that it was so many different groups that came together, and only a few of those groups that really were quite reasonably fringe groups kept up that fight. It needs to be, the mass movement needs to move from the streets into everybody's work and home and effort, So.
And where do you see the problem then in terms of, part of my philosophy is that the problem with politics and the disconnect between politics and the citizens of this state and the country are that politicians aren't really, the money and donations that go into political parties means that whoever made that donation has more of a voice, has more of the ear of the politician. So that the vote isn't as important anymore. It's if someone donates $1 million to a campaign or $50,000, they're going to have a far greater access to a politician's viewpoint. Do you see that as an issue in your experience in the protest movement?
Yes, I do, and that's why the Greens don't take donations, for example, because they want the policies to be determined on the basis of what is good policy, not who you please.
Well, at youareshit.com, that's one of the cornerstones of what we're trying to do is to ban all donations. Only, a company can't vote, so why should a company have that sort of undue influence on the political system?
I mean, the Greens take individual donations, but they don't take corporate ones. No organisations. So, at least in New South Wales. So that's part of trying to keep politics honest. But of course people buy influence, but they can't buy everybody's vote.
Yeah.
So the only way to counter that is to organise people
And I suppose being a Green, then the answer to the next question would be easy to guess. We're approaching the 10th year anniversary of the War on Terror. How effective have you seen the millions of dollars, trillions of dollars spent on that, and then to look around and see the monies that they're actually trying to drain out of public services?
Oh, I mean, it's been a terrible waste of money, the whole Iraq
And
war.
it's still going.
And particularly, I mean, in Afghanistan, we're still in Afghanistan, and that's costing us billions. So, yes, it's about what choices are made with the money, and I would rather see it spent on people who work and provide services for the whole of the community.
But to me, that's exactly what I believe. I believe that most citizens in this state would prefer to see that money funneled into schooling and health. And that's where I'm wondering where the great disconnect between politics and communities.
People feel disempowered. People feel disempowered. They think that it won't make a difference. But look, all I can do as a unionist and a politically active person is encourage people to get involved in collective action, because it actually does work. It does. I mean, it takes some time and you've got to be committed and people have to keep up the fight, but it does work.
Great, thanks very much for your time.